And welcome back to What If, the week of What If. We are on day 2, and this one comes from Jim Mulvaney, I think it is? Forgive me for getting it wrong. Who asked the question, what if Sentinels were in Pokemon? The Marvel Sentinels, obviously, are the mutant destroyers, mutant killing robots that are designed to specifically target and wipe out mutants, capture, contain, or destroy, whatever comes first. And this raises an interesting question because there's two ways we can always look at a insert character here. What if? And what I mean by that is, like, say, what if Goku was sent to Naruto? That is just what if Goku was sent to Naruto kind of thing. But with the Sentinels, we can make an argument for one or the other. What if the Marvel version of the Sentinels are transferred over to the world of Pokemon? Or what if Sentinels were created in the world of Pokemon? Had all the same abilities, had all the same, designs, and the abilities, and flaws and directives, but were designed to go after Pokemon for some reason. So let's look at two scenarios here. What if Sentinels were just suddenly in Pokemon? We know that, we know space-time shenanigans can happen with Pokemon, Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon, the wormholes, alternate dimensions, that all happens. So what if one of those happened to be Marvel and the Sentinels, at least like a dozen or so, came through? What would be the threat level in the Pokemon world with these things? Well, that is actually very dependent on if the Sentinels considered Pokemon mutations in the same way that mutants are considered mutations in Marvel. Because Pokemon are a natural occurring thing here. They're not human. They are, by all accounts, animals, creatures. But they're not human. There are no mutants in the Pokemon world. So if, for some reason, Sentinels are not viewing these things as a threat, as any sort of real, as basically their prime directive, well, Pokemon are going to be fine. People are going to look at these things and get weirded out by the Sentinels. You could see through time Pokemon maybe adapting traits of the Sentinels into their evolutionary lines or whatever, or into the species. So there's that. But then unless Master Mold somehow gets sent to the Pokemon world, you're not going to basically see the continuing progress of the Sentinels. Sentinels are going to more or less be stuck there. But what if the Sentinels saw the Pokemon as mutants? That now starts to show a bit of a problem for Pokemon. Because Sentinel, there are God knows how many versions of Sentinels, and the strongest version of Sentinels can go toe-to-toe with some of the strongest mutants around. Not quite like Apocalypse level mutants, but definitely Storm, your Colossuses, even individuals like the Hulk struggle against Sentinels. A person like Wolverine is near impossible to kill, has been killed in certain timelines. Magneto struggles against the Sentinels depending on so you get very powerful versions of the Sentinels in Pokemon, and they're specifically going after Pokemon. Now you see you have a problem on the Pokemon side, because we're not even looking at stats, although stats can give us an idea of power. We're looking at, do any Pokemon outside of the legendaries have the ability to take down some of the strongest versions of the Sentinels? And the answer is yes, but I think it's very few of them. You need to be looking towards either electric types, but even then, Sentinels have gained the ability to offset electrical pulses. Pokemon that can use magnetism on any level. Pokemon that just have the destructive capability of blowing these things apart. And like I said, I'm just using a dozen Sentinels in this version. The problem is all the weaker Mon would just be running scared, and especially like some of the slowest ones, they'd be crushed underfoot. They'd be eradicated. You could actually see Pokemon species go extinct if the Sentinels are not taken care of. You're going to need your heavy pseudo-legendary hitters. You're going to need your Tyranitars, who are allegedly indestructible. You're going to need your Duraludons, which now has a new evolution to it. So that helps it out quite a bit. You're going to need your Metagrosses with their psychic abilities. Psychic types and ghost types, I think, would be a big plus against the Sentinels, because they have abilities that are there that Sentinels are not readily capable of fighting against. But the problem is because they're technological and man-made, things like reading minds, stuff like that, won't really be that effective. That, or you're gonna need your brute force fighters coming into the effect, or like say ice types that can use like sheer cold with one-hit KO moves. Those might be able to do something too because they are one-hit KO moves. And in the wild, Pokemon clearly will kill each other because they eat, and not just fruit, but meat. There are predatory Pokemon. And we've seen them destroy many things before with machinery in the movies, with like hyper beams, so mountaintops, the whole shebang. I think whether they're created in Pokemon or whether they are from a different plane of reality, I think they are going to be a serious problem for a while, even if it's only a dozen of them. Just because there isn't going to be a lot of Mon out there. The amount of Pokemon that could actually take these guys on is going to be, out of the over 1,000 we have, is going to be very minimal. Hell, even a lot of the legendaries actually won't be able to do much. Most of your trios, your specific trios, would not have the overall level of power to do a lot. I mean, if we just break it down real quick, the legendary birds, they don't got the level of power to do that. Their stats aren't even at 600. Most of the legendary beasts, nope. The Reggies, nope. Reggie Ice, maybe if a Sentinel touches it, could maybe offset some damage. But no, the Emotion Trio, nope. The Swords of Justice, no. The Tapus, not really. There was no real legendary trio in Galar. And you got the what was it? The wretched items. The cursed whatever. I can't remember what they're called in Paldea. But the relics, I think it was, none of them really have any. So you're not even a lot of your legendaries don't really have the power to go up against the Sentinel. They don't have that destructive force per se. So you're really looking at your box legendaries at that point. Mewtwo could easily take down the Sentinels without too much disability, disassemble him with his mind. You're good. Mew could also do the same thing. Lugia and Ho-Oh are difficult to put kind of pinpoint on the power scale there. But I would have, given the fact that Lugia can kind of control the oceans to some degree and the ocean currents, I think Ho-Oh's got Sacred Fire, which is no longer a signature move to it. I imagine they probably could be okay. Groudon, particularly in Kyogre, because they have primal forms of Rayquaza, definitely could. Deoxys would struggle, I think. Jirachi is not really a fighter. I mean, Jirachi's powerful, but it's just not designed for combat. Dialga, Palkia, and I would even go so far as to say probably Darkrai, and obviously Arceus and Giratina. All of them, those guys would have no issue. Most of the other legendaries of Sinnoh would. Zekrom, Reshiram, Kyurem, they would have no problem. Genesect is really designed as a weapon, so that would probably have no problem. Keldeo and Meloetta, though, would not be up, I think, for the task. Zygarde honestly, right there, I say Zygarde, that probably would be the end game for like a scenario with them, because they are drastically putting the world out of balance. I think it would be Megazord Zygarde ultimately coming in and taking on the Sentinels and going toe-to-toe and just tearing these fools apart. But beyond that, even Xerneas and Yveltal both are Pokemon of life and death, so they should be able to have enough power to take them on. I do not believe Solgaleo or Lunala have that power to do anything about it. Zeraora, Melmetal and Meltan would be serious Achilles heels. If the Sentinels are still made from metal, they would be seriously bad because they just eat and absorb metal. But Marchiata would just be hiding out. Necrozma and Ultra Necrozma, to be clear, would be able to put him down. Then we go into Galar real quick. That would be Zacian and Zamazenta. I don't know, because they were able to keep Eternatus at bay, who I think would also have the power to take these guys down. Got Calyrex plus Spectre and Glacier. You got the other two Reggies. I forgot Regigigas, who should have the power to theoretically beat these guys, but he's super slow. Regieleki, as long as these guys don't have a immediate resistance to electricity, should be able to take these guys down. Regidrago, probably not. Even though it's probably got a lot of power, it's super slow. It could be grounded by a Sentinel, just kind of crushed if given the opportunity. I mean, it's a legendary. It'd take a lot of power to do that, but still. I do not think Zarude would have enough power to do anything. I think Koraidon and Miraidon would have the power to take them down. Am I missing any extra legendaries here? I forgot the Weather Jin. Maybe those guys can kind of control the weather to a certain degree, so maybe they'd be able to do it. I know I don't think any of the Paradox forms could take down a Sentinel. I don't think. We'd have to get more like info on them. I mean, Macargo technically is, and I'm going by Pokedex entries, technically is like so hot that you should theoretically melt them just by touching it. Same with Camera by just erupting, but right now we just don't have enough of the other legendaries of Paldea yet to really know. The point I'm trying to get at listing every one of those is it would mostly come down to the legendaries. There are other Pokemon with Pokedex entries and feats and all that who could probably do it, but the amount of the 1,000+ Pokemon that exist right now are very slim based on what we've seen Sentinels do. And even then, a lot of the legendaries wouldn't be able to keep up. You're looking at mostly your box legendaries, your mascot legendaries. And like I said, honestly, it would probably come down to Zygarde, who is the defender of the ecosystem, and ultimately going Megazord and taking all these guys down. It might even cost Zygarde the Zygarde its life, because we know that there are probably multiple Zygarde in the world because of all the Zygarde cells that are around. And I said we'd be looking at a scenario where they're created in world but still have all their powers. Well, it'd still be the exact same thing. They're created in world specifically targeting Pokemon, or maybe just people that Team Rocket doesn't like, because I could totally see it being Team Rocket or Plasma, one of the two that made this. That, or maybe even the Ether Foundation, now that I think about it. It'd have to be a team that has a lot of resources. So Rocket's got money, Ether Foundation, Plasma actually has a lot of resources, though it doesn't really appear it, at least initially. Because it's not going to be Magma, it's not going to be Team Galactic, it's probably going to be one of those guys. And like I said, it's just, if it's the exact same roster of abilities, which I'm imagining it would be, in a level of power that we see for a lot of Sentinels, then yeah, in fact, it would actually be worse if they're created in-universe, because then they would have power abilities specifically adapted to certain Pokemon abilities that might threaten them. For example, anything with electricity or magnetism or extreme heat. So then if you're, I forgot Heatran too. Heatran theoretically should be able to take them down too, with just the level of heat he can produce. But yeah, because if it's in-world, now you're looking at only like your top tier legendaries at that point should be able to take these things down. Because they're just, even though they theoretically could be countered, their abilities anyway, the level of power legendaries, particularly box legendaries, have should be enough to counteract that just in terms of raw power. So again, you're looking at your Zygarde, Xerneases, Yveltals, you're looking at your Mewtwo's, you're looking at your Groudons, Kyogres, and Rayquazas, your creation trios. You're really just looking at your mascot legendaries at that point. And maybe not even all of them. Like at that point, I'm not sure Koraidon or Miraidon would be able to take them on. I'm not certain that even Reshiram or Zekrom would theoretically be able to take them on at that point. Maybe fuse with Kyurem, maybe, but yeah. So yeah, I mean, if the Sentinels were in Pokemon, it just comes down to one scenario. It comes down to two different scenarios, whether they're created in the world or not. Do they deem Pokemon as a threat? And if they do, and if that's a no, then nothing really happens. Sentinels just kind of go like, we are here to protect you from mutants. It's like, great, there are no mutants here. We will shut down. Or just, you're actually, maybe they go Iron Giant, become sentient, and actually help people. I don't know. So there's that scenario. But if they deem Pokemon as a valid target for their directive, then the problems start. So yeah, and it would not be good for Pokemon for a while, because like I said, take out the idea that they have any special counters for Pokemon abilities or attacks. They go up against stronger individuals than most Pokemon daily. Like most mutants, honestly, like no joke. I'm gonna just take Wolverine and just random example. Wolverine could carve through the majority of Pokemon without too much of an issue. Ghost types would be a problem, but because he's got steel claws or adamantium claws, that would technically make Wolverine a fighting steel type. And guess what? Ghost is not immune to steel. So, and by all accounts, Ghost types should be able to pass on in their own way. But yeah, like if I would have to really think about the number of Pokemon that could straight up beat Wolverine. And again, it's not a lot. Not saying it's none, but if you really stop and think about it, what Wolverine can survive, what he can dish out, and Wolverine isn't going to be like, oh, he knocked it, it's a feint. No, Wolverine's going to slit your Charizard's throat. Wolverine's going to shish kebab that Otis and chop it up for the salad. Wolverine is going to kill them. So his biggest problem, I think, would be psychic types. Ghost types would still be an issue, but psychic and any of the legendaries would be his biggest problem. That and those who can fly. Or if I just took another one, let's take a different mutant here. Colossus. Actually, I used Colossus. Colossus would probably struggle a bit more than Wolverine because Wolverine's got adamantium, which means he can even the alleged indestructible Mon he can cut through. But yeah, Colossus still has the physical strength that honestly supersedes most of the Pokemon in the Pokemon universe. Save for maybe Regigigas, who allegedly moved continents. He would probably be the strongest guy in that planet. Oh, and Koraidon, who allegedly split Paldea in half with a punch. That is in his Lord Index. So yeah, the point is most mutants, even the average mutants, are stronger than the majority of Pokemon in the Pokemon world. Out of the 1,000, like maybe a couple, 100 or so would be strong enough to take those guys down, assuming they are not a specific type weakness. And then there's another scenario, like if you add like Charles Xavier into the mix, who could literally just mentally shut down a Pokemon, except for the psychic types. That'd basically be it. Just about any other Pokemon would be mentally shut down. Even legendaries, unless they're psychic or are just so old that they're being beyond Xavier, like an Arceus or the Creation Trio, yeah, he could shut down 90% of the Pokemon in an instant. And the Sentinels deal with these guys regularly, and they're designed to go after these guys. So, yeah, Sentinels would be a problem if they chose to go after Pokemon. But this is just my opinion. Let me know in the comments below what you think. Do you agree with this? Do you disagree with this? What do you think would happen if Sentinels were either sent to the Pokemon world or were created in the Pokemon world? Let me know what you think. But thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and I'll see you folks later.